It is 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a random Wednesday. I just arrived home 2 hours earlier than normal because I missed my connection coming back from a job. The front door opens without a sound, the way I always do it so as not to be a bother. I step inside slowly, setting my handbag on the floor with care. And then I hear them. They are in the living room. Michael, my son, and Jessica, his wife. They are speaking in low voices, but not low enough. I stand freezing in the hallway, not daring to breathe too loud. And what I hear makes the blood run cold in my veins. I already spoke with the social worker, Jessica says. She says that with her age and how much she works, we can argue that she can no longer take care of herself alone. And if she refuses? Michael asks. His voice sounds weak, like always. It does not matter. I have the papers ready. The state-subsidized nursing home costs $200 a month. With her pension, we cover that, and we have nearly $800 left clear for us. And the house is ours. My heart beats so hard I am afraid they will hear me. I lean against the wall because I feel like my legs cannot hold me up. 5 years. 5 years holding them all up, and this is what they were planning. But I do not make a noise. I do not go into the living room. I do not scream. I stay there, in the hallway, listening to how my own son and his wife plan to get rid of me as if I were garbage. That conversation changed everything. But to understand how I got to that moment, standing in my own house like a stranger, I have to go back to the beginning. I have to tell how this story started, how a mother who only wanted to help ended up being seen as a burden. It all started 5 years ago. Back then, I was 66. I worked for the same janitorial service where I am still employed. I would get up at 5 in the morning, take the bus at 6, and return home at 4 in the afternoon. I lived alone in this 3-bedroom house. One for me, one I used for storage, and another that was my sewing room. I liked to sew. It was my moment of peace. Michael used to come visit me on Sundays. Sometimes he brought Jessica. They had been dating for a year. I liked her. Oh, or so I thought. She smiled a lot, called me Mrs. Eleanor with respect, helped me set the table. The kids, her 2 children, were shy but polite. One Sunday, Michael arrived looking serious. He sat at the kitchen table and told me he needed to talk to me. Mom, Jessica and I are getting married. I was happy. I hugged my son. I thought he was finally going to settle down, that he was going to have a real family. But we have a problem, he continued. The apartment where Jessica and the kids live is very small, and my paycheck is not enough for a bigger one. We thought that maybe, just for a few months, we could stay here, just until we save up for the deposit on a place of our own. I looked at my son. I saw in his eyes that need for approval he always had. Michael was never a confident man. Since he was a boy, he needed me to tell him everything was going to be okay, that he was doing well. His father left when he was 8 years old, and I think that marked him forever. Of course, son, I told him. This is your house too. You can stay as long as you need. That was my first mistake, but I did not know it yet. They moved in a month later. They brought 3 suitcases of clothes, some toys for the kids, and many boxes with Jessica's things. Perfumes, lotions, clothes, shoes. I cleared out my sewing room so it could be the children's bedroom. I put my sewing machine away in my closet. The first few months went well. Michael worked at a hardware store downtown. He left early and came back late. Jessica stayed home with the kids. I continued with my routine, getting up at 5, working, coming back at 4. When I arrived, the house was more or less tidy. Jessica cooked something simple. The kids did their homework. Everything seemed to work. I paid the rent for the house, $800 a month. I paid for my food, my expenses. Michael put in $300 for their food and some bills. It was not much, but it was something. I thought it was fair. They were saving up, after all. But 4 months later, Michael lost his job. He came home on a Tuesday at 2 in the afternoon. I was off that day because I had worked Sunday. I saw him walk in with a long face, shoulders slumped. They fired me, Mom. Staff cuts. I hugged him. I told him not to worry, that he would get another job soon. Jessica came out of the bedroom, threw herself on him crying, asking what they were going to do, how they were going to pay for things. Relax, I told them. I can cover a little more while Michael looks for work. Do not stress. That was my second mistake, because Michael started looking for work. Or so he said. He sat at the computer all morning, filling out applications. He went to interviews. But there was always something wrong. The hours were too heavy. The pay was too low. It was too far away. It was not what he studied. 1 month passed, 2 months, 3 months, and meanwhile, I kept paying for everything. The full rent, food for everyone, the electric, water, gas, and internet bills. Michael's bus fare to go to his interviews, the kids' school supplies. Jessica stopped cooking. I am too stressed with the situation, she would say. So I cooked when I got home from work. Simple food, pasta, chicken, casserole, when I could afford it. The kids started calling me Grandma. I liked that. It made me feel like part of a real family. I bought them candy on Fridays. I helped them with homework when I could. They were good kids. It was not their fault their parents were the way they were. 6 months after Michael lost his job, Jessica asked me for money to go to the salon. Mrs. Eleanor, I need to get my hair done. I have not gone in months. I feel horrible. I gave her $50. It was a lot, but I thought the poor woman was also suffering with the situation. She went to the salon and came back with her hair dyed a light chestnut, nails done, eyebrows shaped. You spent it all on that, I said, trying not to sound annoyed. I needed to feel good about myself, she replied, and she went to her room. That night, lying in my bed, I did the math in a notebook. I had been supporting 4 people besides myself for 6 months. My salary was $1,200 a month. The rent was $800. That left $400 for food, bills, transportation, everything else. It was not enough. I was dipping into my savings. I had already spent almost $2,000 of the little I had put away. But I told myself it was temporary, that Michael was going to get a job soon, that everything was going to get better. How foolish I was. In the 7th month, Michael got a job, or so he said. It was at an auto parts store. Part-time, he earned $400 a month. It was not much, but it was something. I felt relieved. I thought things were finally going to change. I asked him to put in $200 for food and bills. He looked uncomfortable, but he accepted. The first month he followed through. He put in the $200. I was still paying the rent, but at least I was not paying for everything alone anymore. The second month he gave me $150. I had to buy uniforms for work. Mom, I will make it up to you next month. The third month he gave me $100. Jessica needed new shoes. Hers were broken. The fourth month he gave me nothing. They delayed my paycheck. Mom, I will give it to you next month. I promise. He never gave me anything else. And I, like a fool, said nothing. I did not want to pressure him. I did not want to fight, because Michael is my son, and I was afraid he would get angry, that he would leave, that I would be left alone again. How pathetic that sounds now. A woman of nearly 70 years afraid of being alone. Meanwhile, things in the house changed. Jessica no longer greeted me with affection. She spoke to me only when necessary. The kids were still polite to me, but I noticed she was telling them things. Once I heard her telling the oldest, "Do not ask your grandmother for anything. She already does a lot." But when she needed something, she had no problem asking me. Could I lend her $20 for her lotions? Could I buy organic milk for the kids because the regular kind upset their stomachs? Could I pay for premium cable because the kids wanted to watch their shows? And I paid. I always paid. My routine became mechanical. Up at 5, quick coffee. Bus at 6. Clean offices until 3. Back home at 4. Cook for everyone. Wash the dishes. Do the laundry because Jessica said her back hurt. Iron the kids' uniforms. Go to bed at 10. Sleep 5 hours. Repeat. On weekends, I cleaned the whole house. Jessica stayed in her room watching television. Michael went out with his friends. The kids played. And I mopped, dusted, organized. Because if I did not do it, nobody did. My friends at work told me I looked tired, that I had lost weight, that I had dark circles under my eyes. I told them I was fine, that it was just age. But inside I felt like I was fading. A little more every day. The first anniversary of them living in my house arrived. A few months had turned into a year. They never saved anything. They never looked for another place. and I never asked when they were going to leave. One night, after washing the dinner dishes, I sat on my bed and cried. I cried in silence so no one would hear me. I cried because I was tired, because my knees hurt, because my back hurt, because I could not remember the last time I had bought something for myself, because I felt invisible in my own home. But the next day I got up at 5, as always, because I had to work, because without my paycheck, we would all sink. At 1.5 years, Jessica started complaining about the house. This kitchen is too small. You cannot cook well here. She almost never cooked, but anyway. The bathroom needs remodeling. It is very old. It was a normal bathroom, clean, functional. But according to her, it was horrible. The kids need their own room each. It is not fair that they share. We had 3 bedrooms. One was mine, one was theirs. One was the kids. What did they want? For me to sleep in the living room? One day she arrived with home decor magazines. She sat at the kitchen table, where I was drinking my coffee before going to work, and started showing me photos. Look, Mrs. Eleanor, if we paint the walls this color and change the living room furniture, this would look much better. I do not have money for that, Jessica, I told her, tired. But this house looks so sad. The kids deserve to live in a nice place. I got up, washed my mug, and went to work without saying another word, because if I opened my mouth, I was going to say things I did not want to say. I was going to scream that this was not her house, that if she wanted a nice place, she should work and get her own, that I was already doing too much. But I said nothing. I never said anything. At 2 years, Michael quit his part-time job. They did not appreciate me, Mom. They had me doing things that were not my job. They disrespected me. I did not ask for details. I already knew my son. There was always an excuse. It was always someone else's fault. I am going to look for something better. Something worth it, he said. 3 months passed. 6 months. A year. He looked for nothing. He spent his time at the house, watching television, on his phone, going out with friends. Jessica said nothing. She did not work either. The 2 of them lived off me. I was 69 years old. My hands shook more and more. It was hard for me to climb the stairs at work. My whole body hurt, but I could not stop working. If I stopped working, we would end up on the street. A coworker, Linda, invited me to have coffee one Saturday. I had not gone out with anyone in years. I was always busy cleaning, cooking, washing for my family. I told her yes, I needed to get out of that house even if it was for an hour. We sat in a cheap diner near the market. Linda ordered coffee and a pastry. I just had coffee, because I needed to save money. Eleanor, you look bad, Linda told me bluntly. What is going on? And I do not know what happened to me, but I started telling her everything. I told her about Michael, about Jessica, about the kids, about how I had been supporting all of them for 2 years, about how I had spent all my savings, about how the money was not enough, about how tired I was. Linda listened to me in silence. When I finished, she took my hand. Eleanor, that is not helping. That is letting yourself be used. He is my son, Linda. I cannot leave him on the street. Your son is a grown man. He is 43 years old. He is not a child. And his wife can work too. They have hands, they have legs. Why do they not work? They are going through a hard time. 2 years? 2 years is a hard time? Eleanor, wake up. They are using you. Her words hurt me. Not because they were cruel, but because they were true. And I did not want to see the truth. I went back home that afternoon. Jessica was in the living room watching television with freshly painted nails. Michael was lying on the recliner playing on his phone. The kids were in their room. I went into my bedroom and sat on the bed. I looked around. My room was the smallest in the house. It had a bed, an old closet, a nightstand. Nothing else. Everything else had been for them. I opened the drawer of my nightstand. I took out my notebook where I recorded expenses. I flipped through the pages. 2 years of numbers. 2 years of giving and giving and giving. I had spent $11,000 of my savings. $11,000 that had taken me 20 years to gather. And the worst part was not the money. The worst part was that I did not see an end. I did not see the day when Michael would say, "Thank you. Mom, we can handle it alone now." I did not see the day when they would leave. Because they were comfortable. Why leave? Here they had everything for free. That night I almost did not sleep. I lay staring at the ceiling, thinking, trying to find a way out that was not kicking out my own son. Because that was what Linda had suggested. Tell them to leave. It is your house. You have the right. But I could not. I could not kick Michael out. He was my son, my only son. So I decided I was going to talk to him. Calmly. I was going to explain to him that I could not go on like this. That I needed him to work, for Jessica to work, for them to do their part. That I was already old. That I was tired. Sunday morning I gathered my courage. I waited for the kids to go out to play. I sat at the kitchen table and called Michael and Jessica. I need to talk to you guys, I told them. They sat in front of me. Michael looked nervous. Jessica had that face of boredom she always put on when I spoke. I took a deep breath. I have been supporting you and the kids for 2 years. I have spent all my savings. The money is not enough anymore. I need you to help me. Silence. Michael looked down. Jessica crossed her arms. Mom, I am looking for work. Michael started. You have gone a year without looking for anything real. Son, every day you are in the house doing nothing. That is not true. I fill out applications online. And the interviews? When was the last time you went to an interview? He did not know how to answer. Jessica intervened. Mrs. Eleanor, the situation is difficult for everyone. There are no jobs. You know how the economy is. There are jobs, Jessica. The thing is, you guys do not want to take just anything. You want something comfortable. Something well paid. But meanwhile, I am killing myself, working to support you. Nobody asked you to kill yourself working, Jessica said with a tone I did not like. Excuse me? You heard me. Nobody forced you to pay for everything. You did it because you wanted to. I felt my blood boil. I looked at Michael expecting him to say something, to defend his mother, but he kept looking down like a coward. Jessica, you do not work either. You could look for something, even if it is part-time. And who is going to take care of my children? Your children are big now. They are 9 and 11 years old. They can stay alone for a few hours after school. Oh, sure. You want me to leave my children abandoned to go work for a miserable wage? What a good grandmother you are. I was left speechless. Did she just say that? Michael finally spoke. Mom, give me 1 more month. I promise that in a month I will get something. You have told me that for 2 years, Michael. This time it is for real. I have some contacts who are going to help me. He always had contacts who were going to help him. It was always next month. It was always soon. I need you to contribute something now. Even if it is $100 a month. I need help. Jessica got up from the table. I am not going to keep listening to this. Let's go, Michael. And they went to their room. Michael did not even look at me. I stayed seated at that table, alone, feeling like the worst mother in the world for asking them to help with their own upkeep. That night I heard them arguing in their room. I did not hear everything, but I heard some phrases from Jessica. Your mother is pressuring us. We are not going to put up with her mistreatment. We should look for another place. Mistreatment. That word hurt me more than anything. I had supported them for 2 years, and she called it mistreatment. But they did not go look for another place. Of course not. They stayed. Because here, they were comfortable. The following days were tense. Jessica did not speak to me. She walked past me as if I were invisible. Michael avoided me. The kids stayed quiet when I was around. I felt like an intruder in my own home. A week after that conversation, I arrived from work and found the living room remodeled. They had bought a new sofa, a coffee table, new curtains, everything in shades of gray and white. Very modern. What is this? I asked. Jessica was arranging cushions on the sofa. We fixed up the living room a bit. It looked very sad. With what money? Michael had some savings, she said without looking at me. Michael appeared from the kitchen with a beer in his hand. They paid me for some jobs I had done before. Mom, I wanted to invest in the house. Invest in the house? And the money you were going to give me to help with expenses? This is for everyone. Mom, so we can live better. I could not believe it. I asked him to help me with $100 and he could not. But to buy new furniture, yes, he had money. How much was this? I do not know, like $500, Jessica said proudly. $500. More than half the monthly rent. I went to my room without saying anything else. Because if I opened my mouth, I was going to say horrible things. I was going to scream at them that they were ungrateful, that they were moochers, that they had me as a maid in my own house. But I kept quiet. I always kept quiet. 3 more months passed. We reached 2.5 years of them living with me. Michael did not get a job. Jessica did not look for anything either. I kept paying for everything. I kept cleaning offices. I kept coming home tired to cook for everyone. I kept being invisible. My coworkers noticed I was getting worse. One of them, Susan, found me crying in the bathroom during break one day. "Eleanor, what is wrong?" I could not hold it in. I told her everything again. Susan hugged me. "You have to set boundaries. You have to tell them to leave." "I cannot. He is my son." "Your son is a grown man who is using you, and his wife is abusive." "Eleanor, you are 70 years old. How long are you going to go on like this?" "I do not know. I do not know what to do." Susan gave me the number of a lawyer she knew. "At least consult with him. Find out what your rights are. This is your house. You pay the rent. They have no right to stay if you do not want them to." I put the number in my purse, but I never called. Because calling a lawyer meant admitting that the situation was so bad that I needed legal help against my own family. At home, things got worse. Jessica did not even hide her disdain for me anymore. She spoke to me with orders. "Eleanor, we are out of soap. Buy more tomorrow." "Eleanor." The dinner was very salty. "Cook better." "Eleanor, the kids need money for a school field trip, $50 each." And I obeyed. I bought the soap. I cooked better. I gave the $100 for the field trip. Michael became a stranger to me. We almost did not talk. He spent his time locked in his room or going out with friends. When I asked him if he had looked for work, he answered me with monosyllables. "Yes, no, we will talk later." The kids continued to be polite, but distant. They no longer called me grandma with affection. It was like an obligation. One night, 3 years after they arrived at my house, I lay in my bed and looked at my reflection in the closet mirror. I did not recognize myself. That thin, pale woman, with completely white hair, with deep circles under her eyes, was not me. Or yes, it was me, but a destroyed version of the Eleanor I had been. I was 70 years old. I had worked my whole life. I had sacrificed for my son his whole life. And now I was sacrificing for him, for his wife, and for her children. And for what? So they could treat me like an employee? So Jessica could speak to me with contempt? So Michael could avoid me? I asked myself how I had come to this. How had I allowed this to happen? The answer was simple. Because I was afraid of being alone. Because I thought it was better to have a family that used me than to have no family. Because I confused love with submission. But that night something changed inside me. It was not something big. It was not a revelation. It was just a small thought that planted itself in my mind. I cannot go on like this. I did not know what I was going to do yet. I did not have a plan, but that thought was there, growing. At 3.5 years of living with me, Jessica started doing something new. She started receiving packages, many packages. At first I thought they were things for the kids. School supplies, clothes, shoes. But no, they were things for her. Brand name clothes, expensive shoes, purses, makeup, things that cost money, a lot of money. "Where do you get the money to buy all that?" I asked her one day, when she arrived with 3 large boxes. "I have my savings," she told me with a smile I did not like. "Savings? From where if you do not work?" "That is none of your business, Eleanor." She did not even call me Mrs. Eleanor anymore. Just Eleanor. As if we were friends. Or worse, as if she were superior to me. Michael was there, listening, and said nothing. Like always, I started noticing other things. Jessica went out often. 2, 3 times a week. She fixed herself up very well, put on expensive perfume, and went out saying she was going to see a girlfriend. She came back late. Sometimes at 10 at night. The kids stayed alone in the house with Michael, who paid no attention to them. I arrived from work and found them watching television, without having eaten anything, so I cooked for them. "Where is your mom?" I asked the oldest. "I do not know. She went out." One night Jessica arrived at 11. I was still awake because my back hurt a lot, and I could not sleep. I heard her come in. I heard Michael ask her where she had been. With Marcella? I already told you. Until 11 at night? And so what? Now you are going to control me? I have enough with your mother constantly on me. I was constantly on her. Me, who paid for everything for them. Me, who supported them. I was constantly on her. I did not sleep that night. I stayed up thinking about everything, about how I had reached this point, about how I had become the villain of the story in my own house. The next day was Saturday. I did not work Saturdays. I got up early anyway, as always. I went to the kitchen to make coffee. On the table there was an envelope. I opened it. It was a bill from a clothing store, in my name. $300 in clothes I had not bought. I felt my heart race. I went to Michael and Jessica's room. I knocked on the door. There was no answer. I opened it. They were sleeping. I woke them up. "What is this?" I asked, showing the bill. Jessica rubbed her eyes. "Oh, that. I bought some things for the kids. They put the account in your name because I do not have credit. You asked for my permission? I did not think it was necessary. The kids needed clothes. $300 in clothes. What did you buy them? Designer outfits. They were things they needed. If you do not want the kids to be well dressed, say so." Michael turned over in bed, turning his back to me. He did not even participate in the conversation. "Jessica, you cannot open accounts in my name without asking me. I do not have money to pay this. Well, pay it in installments. What do I know? It is not my problem." I left that room shaking with rage, shaking with helplessness. I went to my room, closed the door, and dialed the number Susan had given me months ago, the lawyer's number. A man's voice answered. "Good morning. Office of Attorney James Carter. Good morning. My name is Eleanor Peterson. A friend gave me this number. I need a consultation." "Of course, ma'am. What is this about?" And I told him. I told him everything. From the beginning, the 3.5 years, the money spent, the lack of respect, the account they had just opened in my name. Attorney Carter listened to me without interrupting. When I finished, he sighed. "Mrs. Peterson, what they are doing to you is financial and emotional abuse, and opening accounts in your name without your consent can be fraud. What can I do? First, I need you to gather all possible evidence, receipts, bank statements, messages, everything you have. Second, you have the right to ask them to vacate the property. Since you are the one who pays the rent, you are the legal tenant. They are just occupants, but he is my son. Ma'am, I understand it is difficult, but your son is an adult who is abusing you. You have to protect yourself. I do not know if I can do that. Think about it. And meanwhile, do not sign anything else. Do not open more accounts. Do not give them more money than necessary, and keep evidence of everything." I hung up feeling worse than before, because now I knew I had options, but I did not know if I had the courage to take them. The following days, I went around gathering papers, invoices, rent receipts, bank statements where it showed how I had drained my savings, the bill from the clothing store. I kept everything in a box in my closet. Jessica kept buying things. She kept going out. She kept treating me like garbage. Michael got a job, or so he said. It was selling insurance over the phone. From the house, he worked 2 hours a day. Maybe. He said he earned by commission. I never saw a cent of that money. The kids started asking me for things directly. "Grandma, I need money for the movies. Grandma, I want a video game console. Grandma, all my friends have a cell phone, except me." When I told them I did not have money, they got angry. They went to their room, and I heard them complaining to Jessica. "Grandma is really stingy. She never buys us anything. I never bought them anything. Me, who paid for their food, their roof, their school, their clothes. But since I did not buy them toys and whims, I was stingy. One afternoon I arrived from work especially tired. My whole body ached. I had cleaned 4 floors of offices by myself because 2 coworkers had called in sick. I could barely walk. I arrived home. The kitchen was dirty, full of lunch dishes. The living room was messy. Jessica was lying on the sofa watching television. Michael was in his room. The kids were playing video games. I went straight to my room. I lay on the bed without changing my clothes. I closed my eyes. I heard a knock at the door. "What?" I asked. It was the oldest boy. "Grandma, I am hungry. What is there to eat?" "I do not know. Ask your mom. She says she is tired and that you cook better." She was tired. Her, who spent all day in the house doing nothing. "Tell your mom that today I am not going to cook. Let her order food or cook herself." The boy left. I heard voices in the living room. Jessica yelling, "Eleanor, the kids are hungry." I did not answer. I stayed lying down. I heard heavy footsteps. Jessica opened my bedroom door without knocking. "What is wrong with you? Why are you not cooking?" "Because I am tired." "Jessica, very tired. You cook." "I do not know how to cook what the kids like." "Then learn, or order food." "But today, I am not cooking." "You are unbelievable, you know? You have become really selfish." "Get out of my room, Jessica. This is not just your house, it is also my house." Something broke inside me in that moment. I got up from the bed. I looked Jessica straight in the eyes. "This is my house. I pay the rent. I pay everything. You pay nothing. You have no right to tell me what to do in my own house." Jessica stayed quiet for a few seconds. Then she smiled. A cold smile. "You know what, Eleanor? You are right. This is your house. And you pay for everything. And do you know why? Because nobody else loves you. Because if it were not for us, you would be alone. You should thank us that we are here, putting up with you." She walked out of my room and slammed the door. I remained standing in the middle of my room, processing what I had just heard. Nobody else loves me. I should be thankful they put up with me. That night I did not cook. I did not leave my room. I heard they ordered food delivery. I heard laughter in the living room. I heard the television until late, and I stayed in my room, lying in the dark, feeling my heart breaking. The following days I did not say a word to them. I left early to work. I came back late. I locked myself in my room. I ate what I could find. I did not cook for them. I did not wash their clothes. I did not clean their messes. On the third day, Michael knocked on my door. "Mom, we have to talk. I have nothing to talk about with you. Please, open the door." I opened it. Michael was there, with that regretful child face he put on when he was little and did something bad. "Mom, Jessica should not have said that to you. She was upset. She did not mean it. And you? What do you think, Michael? Because I have never heard you defend your mother." He stayed quiet. "That is what I thought," I said. "Now leave me alone." "Mom, please. We cannot go on like this. You are part of this family." "No, Michael. You guys are part of my family. This is my house. And I am tired of being treated like a servant. Nobody treats you like a servant." "No?" "Jessica gives me orders. You do not talk to me. The kids only look for me when they need money. And I work like a mule to support all of you. That is not being a servant." Michael looked down. "I know I have not been the best son. I know I have failed. But I am trying." "Trying what? Trying to get a job? You have gone 4 years without real employment. Trying to get Jessica to respect me? She treats me worse every day. Trying to help me? I do not see how. Give me another chance. I have given you 1,000 chances, Michael. And every time I regret it more." I closed the door. I heard him stand outside for a few minutes. Then he left. That night I dialed Attorney Carter again. "Mrs. Peterson, how are you?" "Bad. I need to know exactly what I can do. I need them to leave my house." "I understand. Look, as I explained, you have the legal right to ask them to vacate. You will need to give them a written notice 30 days in advance. If they do not leave in that time, we can proceed with a legal eviction. And if Michael says it is his house too, he is registered here, receives mail here, that does not matter. You pay the rent. You are the legal tenant. He is just an occupant. The law is on your side. And about the accounts they opened in my name, that is fraud. You can report it. You have proof that you did not authorize those purchases. The stores will have to investigate and very likely cancel those debts. How much would all this cost me? The legal services, the process. For you, Mrs. Peterson, I will not charge. A friend of mine, Susan, told me about your situation. She was my teacher in school. I owe her a lot. Consider this a favor for her and for you." I felt like crying. A stranger was helping me more than my own family. "Thank you, counselor. Thank you, truly. Prepare yourself emotionally, ma'am. This is not going to be easy, but it is necessary." I hung up and sat on my bed, thinking, was I really going to kick out my son? Was it really going to come to that? Another week passed. The tension in the house was unbearable. Jessica and I did not speak. Michael tried to act as if everything was normal. The kids were confused. And then something happened that changed everything. I had a work trip scheduled. Sometimes the company sent me to clean offices in another city. It was a full day. I left in the morning and returned at night. They paid me extra for that, so I always accepted. That Wednesday I left at 6 in the morning. The job was in a city 2 hours away. I would finish around 5 and take the 6 o'clock bus back. I would arrive home at 8. But I finished early. By 3, I was done. The supervisor was happy with my work and told me I could go. I took the 4 o'clock bus. I would arrive home at 6, 2 hours earlier than planned. On the way I felt strange, as if something was waiting for me, as if I were going to discover something I did not want to discover. I arrived home at 6 to 10. The door was locked. I took out my keys and opened slowly, trying not to make noise. I do not know why, but something told me to enter in silence. I left my handbag on the floor. The house had the lights off, but I heard voices in the living room. Familiar voices, Michael and Jessica. I stayed in the hallway, not daring to move. And then I heard them. And what I heard froze my blood. "I already spoke to the social worker," Jessica was saying. "She says that with her age and how much she works, we can argue that she can no longer take care of herself alone, that it is dangerous for her to live alone. And if she refuses?" asked Michael. His voice sounded weak, as always. "It does not matter. I have the papers ready. The state nursing home costs $200 a month. With her pension we cover that and we have like $800 left clear, and the house is ours. But she does not have a pension yet. She is still working. That is why we have to rush the process. If we declare her incapacitated, they give her a disability pension immediately, and we stay as her legal guardians. We control all her money." I felt like my legs could not support me. I leaned against the wall. My heart was beating so fast, I thought I was going to faint. "I do not know Jessica. She is my mom. Your mom who has treated you like garbage your whole life. Your mom who never believed in you. Your mom who only criticizes you. Or have you already forgotten how she made you feel last week? Lie. All lies. I never treated him badly. I gave him everything. Besides," continued Jessica, "you already signed the documents. It is done. On Monday we go to the lawyer I found and start the process. In 2 months everything is ready." I signed what? "The papers where you say your mom can no longer take care of herself alone. That she forgets things. That she has episodes of confusion. That you worry she will hurt herself." "I do not remember signing that." "Of course you signed. Last week. I gave them to you along with other papers. You always sign without reading. Michael, it is your fault for being trusting." Silence. Michael was processing that his wife had tricked him into signing false documents about me. "Jessica, this is very wrong. What is wrong is living under your mom's roof at 47 years old. What is wrong is having nothing of your own. This is our chance. The house is ours. Her money is ours. And she stays in a place where they take care of her. It is good for everyone. And if she realizes, and if she fights, with what? She has no money for a lawyer. And when I present the papers you signed saying she is out of her mind, nobody is going to believe her. It is done. Michael, I already decided. This is going to happen. And you are going to support me. Like always." I put my hand over my mouth so as not to make noise. I could not believe what I was hearing. My own son. My own son was planning to lock me in a nursing home to keep my house and my money. "And the kids?" asked Michael. "What are we going to tell them?" "The truth. That grandma is old and sick and needs special care. They will understand. They are kids." I heard one of them getting up. I panicked. They could not see me there. I moved quickly toward the front door, opened it and closed it, making noise. "I am home!" I yelled with a trembling voice. Silence in the living room. Then I heard movement. Jessica came out of the living room with a fake smile. "Eleanor, you arrived so early." "I finished early," I said, trying to control my voice. "I am going to my room. I am tired." I went straight to my bedroom. I locked the door. I sat on the bed and started to shake. My whole body was shaking. They were going to lock me in a nursing home. They were going to steal my money. They were going to declare me incapacitated. And my son, my own son, agreed. That night I did not sleep. I stayed sitting on my bed, in the dark, processing what I had heard. Every word repeated in my head like an echo. The nursing home cost $200 a month. With her pension, we have $800 left clear. The house is ours. They had turned me into a problem to solve, into an obstacle between them and a comfortable life. And the worst was that Michael knew. Michael had signed papers. Michael agreed. When dawn broke, my eyes were red from crying so much in silence. I looked at myself in the mirror and saw a destroyed woman. But I also saw something else. I saw rage. I saw determination. I was not going to let them do this to me. I got ready to go to work like any other day. I left my room. Michael was in the kitchen drinking coffee. He looked at me nervously. "Good morning, Mom." "Good morning," I replied with a neutral voice. "Did you sleep well?" "Perfectly." Lie, but he did not have to know. Jessica came out of the bedroom. She looked at me with that fake smile I hated so much. "Eleanor, I need you to give me $100. The kids need new uniforms for gym class." Before, I would have said yes immediately. I would have looked for the money even if I did not have it. But now, everything had changed. "I do not have it," I replied. "What do you mean you do not have it?" "You heard me. I do not have extra money this month. But the kids need it." "Then get a job and buy it yourself." Jessica opened her mouth to respond, but I left before she could say anything. I left the house and walked toward the bus stop. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from adrenaline. At work, I could not concentrate. I cleaned on autopilot while my mind went over options. I had to act fast. On Monday, according to what Jessica had said, they were going to see a lawyer. Today was Thursday. I had 4 days. On my break, I called Attorney Carter. "Mrs. Peterson, what happened?" He heard me upset. I told him what I had heard. Everything. The complete conversation. The plans to lock me in a nursing home. The documents they had made. Michael sign. The plan to keep my money. James kept silent for a few seconds when I finished. "This is extremely serious, Mrs. Peterson. This is fraud, breach of trust, and possibly even attempted kidnapping if they were to take you to a nursing home against your will. What do I do? First, I need you to come to my office today. We are going to prepare protection documents. Second, we are going to report this. And third, we are going to act before they do on Monday. Can you see me after work?" "I get off at 3. I expect you at 4. I am going to send you the address by message." That day work felt eternal. Every minute seemed like an hour. When 3 o'clock finally struck, I ran out. I took the bus downtown. Attorney Carter's office was in an old but clean building. I went up to the 3rd floor. I knocked on the door. A man of about 50 years opened, with glasses, dressed formally but without a tie. He had a kind smile. "Mrs. Peterson, come in, please." His office was small but tidy. There were books on the walls, a desk with organized papers, 2 chairs for clients. I sat down and told him everything again, now more calmly. James took notes. "Very well," he said when I finished. "Here is what we are going to do. First, I am going to prepare a temporary restraining order. This will prevent them from being able to do any legal procedure in your name. Second, I am going to contact the social worker they mentioned. I need to know if she really exists, and if she is really involved in this. Third, tomorrow we are going to go to the bank and you are going to change all your accounts. New numbers, new passwords, no access for anyone else, and the documents Michael signed. We need to get a copy of those documents. Do you know where they might have them? In their room, I guess? Jessica keeps everything in a drawer in her dresser. Can you look for them? I can try. Good. I also need you to start recording conversations. If they talk about the plan again, record them. It is legal to record in your own home. He gave me a paper with instructions. He explained step by step what I had to do. I signed documents, giving him permission to represent me legally. I felt relieved. For the first time in years, someone was on my side. "Mrs. Peterson," James said before I left, "you are very brave. What you are doing is not easy." I do not feel brave. I feel scared. Courage is not having no fear. Courage is doing the right thing despite the fear. I returned home at 6. I entered carefully. The house was quiet. The kids were in their room. Jessica was watching television in the living room. Michael was not there. "Where is Michael?" I asked. "He went out with some friends," Jessica replied without looking at me. Perfect. It was my chance. I went to my room. I waited half an hour. Then I came out as if I were going to the bathroom. I passed in front of their room. The door was ajar. I looked toward the living room. Jessica was still on the sofa, absorbed in her program. I entered the room. My heart was beating very fast. I went straight to the dresser. I opened the top drawer. Underwear. The second drawer. Folded clothes. The third drawer. Papers. I searched quickly. Invoices, receipts, photos. And then I saw it. A brown folder. I opened it. There they were. False medical documents. Invented reports about my mental deterioration. Statements signed by Michael where he said, "I forgot things, that I got lost when I went out, that I had had episodes of confusion." All lies. All invented. There was also a quote from the nursing home. St. Joseph Senior Home. Shared room. $200 monthly copay. There were highlighter marks on that line. I took out my phone and took photos of everything. My hands were shaking so much that some came out blurry. I retook them. I took photos of every page, of every document. I heard the front door. Michael had arrived. I closed the folder quickly. I put it where it was. I closed the drawer. I left the room and got into the bathroom just in time. I flushed the toilet to dissimulate. I washed my hands. I came out. Michael was in the hallway. "Mom, what are you doing?" I went to the bathroom. "Any problem?" He looked at me strangely. "No, none." I went back to my room. I closed the door. I sat on the bed and checked the photos. They were good. Everything could be read. I sent the photos to Attorney Carter by message. His reply arrived within 5 minutes. "Excellent work. This is strong evidence. With this we can proceed. Tomorrow first thing we go to the bank, and then to report this to the authorities." That night I feigned normality. I ate a little bread with tea in my room. I heard Jessica and Michael talking in low voices in their bedroom. I could not hear what they were saying, but the tone was conspiratorial. I went to bed early. I set the alarm for 5 in the morning, even though it was Friday and I did not work. I had to go to the bank early with James, but I could not sleep. Every noise startled me. I was afraid they had discovered I had entered their room. I was afraid they would come in the middle of the night and take me to the nursing home by force. It sounded paranoid, I know, but after hearing their plans, I no longer knew what they were capable of. At 5, I got up. I showered in silence. I got dressed. I left a note in the kitchen, left early. Back in the afternoon. I left the house at 6. The sun was barely rising. I took the bus downtown. I arrived at James's office at 7. He was already there waiting for me with 2 coffees. "Good morning, Mrs. Peterson." "Ready. Ready." We went to the bank. James accompanied me inside. We spoke with an executive. I explained that I needed to change all my accounts because there were people trying to access my money without authorization. The executive, a kind young man, helped me with everything. He closed my old account, opened a new one with a different number. We did the transfer. He gave me a new card. "Does anyone else have access to this account?" he asked. "No, only me." "Do you want us to block any attempt by anyone to open accounts in your name?" "Yes, please." "Done. Here in the system, the alert is set. No one can open anything in your name without you being present with your ID." We left the bank. I felt a little safer. My money was protected now. "Next step," James said. "We are going to report the attempted fraud." We went to a government office where these types of cases were reported. We filled out forms. We presented the photos of the false documents. We gave statements. The official who attended us, a very serious older lady, reviewed everything carefully. "This is serious," she said. "I am going to open an investigation. I am also going to notify the nursing home mentioned here so they know that any attempt to admit you without your consent is illegal." "How long does the process take?" asked James. "A few weeks for the full investigation, but I can issue an immediate protection order. With this, if anyone tries to do something to you against your will, they can be arrested." They gave me documents, copies of everything, instructions on what to do if I felt in danger. When we left there, it was already noon. "Do you want to eat something?" asked James. "I am not hungry. I just want this to end." "I know, but you are doing the right thing. Now comes the hard part." "Which one?" "Confronting them." James explained that I had two options. I could confront them directly, or I could let him do it officially with legal documents. I thought about the two options all the way back home. I decided it had to be me. I had to look my son in the eyes and tell him I knew everything, that I was not going to allow them to do this to me. I arrived home at 3 in the afternoon. I entered and everyone was in the living room. Michael, Jessica, and the kids. They were watching television like a happy family, as if they were not planning to destroy my life. "I need to talk to Michael and Jessica." "Now," I said with a firm voice. The kids looked at me scared. They had never heard me speak like that. "Kids, go to your room," ordered Jessica. They ran off. Michael stayed seated, pale. Jessica looked at me with her arms crossed. I stood in front of them. I took out my phone. I opened the recorder. I put it on the coffee table. "What are you doing?" asked Jessica. "This is going to be recorded. Everything we say will remain on record. You have no right. I have every right. This is my house." I took a deep breath. On Wednesday, I came home early, 2 hours earlier than normal. I entered in silence and heard you talking in this living room. Michael turned even paler. Jessica did not move. I heard the whole plan: the nursing home, the false documents, the disability pension, how you were going to declare me incapacitated to keep my money and my house. "Mom, I can explain," started Michael. "I do not want explanations. I want you to know that I already took measures. This morning I went with a lawyer. I changed all my bank accounts. I reported the fraud to the authorities. I have copies of all the false documents you have in your dresser." Jessica got up from the sofa. "You went into our room. I went into my house to look for evidence that you were robbing me. And I found it. This is ridiculous. Michael, say something." But Michael said nothing. He just looked at me with eyes full of tears. "How could you?" I asked him. "I am your mother. I gave you everything. My whole life I worked for you. I held you up when no one else did. And you signed papers to lock me in a nursing home. Jessica told me it was the best for you," he whispered. "The best for me or the best for you?" Jessica laughed, a dry laugh, without humor. "You know what, Eleanor? Yes, we planned it. And do you know why? Because we are tired. Tired of living under your roof, putting up with your complaints, your long faces, your hints. Tired of you making us feel guilty for needing help. Help. You have been living off me for 5 years. 5 years without paying anything. That is not help, Jessica. That is abuse. We also have rights. We have been living here for 5 years. This house is also ours." "No. This house is mine. I pay the rent. Only me. And you have a week to leave." They stayed silent. "What?" said Jessica. "1 week, 7 days. Find where to live and leave. You cannot kick us out like this." "Yes, I can. I spoke with my lawyer. I have every right. And if you do not leave voluntarily, I will do it by force with an eviction order." Michael stood up. "Mom, please, do not do this. We are your family. You are not my family. My family would not plan to lock me in a nursing home. My family would not forge documents. My family would not steal from me. Mom, do not call me Mom. A son does not do this to his mother." Jessica grabbed her purse. "Let's go, Michael. I am not going to stay here listening to her insults. Nobody is insulting you. I am telling the truth. We will see what a judge says about this. We are going to fight for this house. Do it. I have all the proof on my side. I have the rent receipts for 5 years. I have the false documents you made. I have recordings. You have 0 chance of winning." Jessica left the house, slamming the door. Michael remained standing in front of me. He had tears in his eyes. "I am sorry, Mom." Really, I am sorry. I did not want to. But you did. You signed the papers. You agreed. I was afraid of losing her. Jessica said if we did not do something, you were going to kick us out. And she was right. I am going to kick you out. Because you used me. Because you abused me. Because you disrespected me. Michael covered his face with his hands. I have nowhere to go. You should have thought of that before. He went to his room. I heard him talk to Jessica. I heard screaming. I heard crying. The kids came out of their room asking what was happening. Jessica told them we were going to move soon. I stayed in the living room, seated, processing what had just happened. I had confronted my son. I had told him to leave, and I did not feel bad. I felt relieved. The following days were a silent war. Jessica did not say a word to me. Michael avoided me. The kids looked at me with fear and confusion. I continued with my routine. Work, return home, lock myself in my room. Saturday morning, 2 days after the confrontation, I heard movement in the house. I came out of my room and saw Jessica packing things in boxes. Michael was on the phone talking to someone. We found an apartment, Michael told me without looking me in the eyes. We leave on Tuesday. 5 days. They were leaving 5 days before the deadline I had given them. Good, I replied. That afternoon, my neighbor, Margaret, arrived. She was a lady my age, a widow, who lived in the apartment next door. We had always been cordial, but never close friends. She knocked on my door. Eleanor, can I talk to you? I let her in. We sat in my room because I did not want to be in the living room where Jessica could hear us. I heard what happened. The walls are thin, said Margaret with pity. I tensed up. What did you hear? Everything. The fight on Friday. The screams. Eleanor, I have been watching for years how they treat you. How you work day and night while they do nothing. How they talk to you. I should have said something before, but I thought it was not my place. It is not your fault, Margaret. I want you to know something. 3 months ago, Jessica came to my house. She asked me if I knew lawyers specializing in guardianships and declarations of incapacity. She said it was for an aunt of hers. I gave her the name of a lawyer who helped my sister with my mom when she could no longer live alone. I did not know it was for you. I felt my stomach turn. You gave her the name. Yes, I feel terrible. If I had known. You did not know. Do not blame yourself. There is something else. That same day, Jessica asked me how much the nursing home where my mom is costs. I told her the state one cost like $200 a month, but that it was horrible, that I did not recommend it to anyone. She left without saying more. Now I understand why she was asking. So it was true. Everything was true. Jessica had been planning this for months. Eleanor, you did the right thing kicking them out. That woman is dangerous, and your son is a weakling who lets her control him. Margaret was right. Michael had always been weak of character. Since he was a child, he sought approval, acceptance, and Jessica had taken advantage of that. If you need something, anything, I am in the apartment next door. If I hear anything strange, I call the police immediately. Thank you, Margaret. Truly. When she left, I stayed thinking. Jessica had planned this for months. Probably since long before the Wednesday I heard them. The question was, what else had she done? Sunday morning I called Attorney Carter. Mrs. Peterson, how are you? I need you to investigate something. I need to know if Jessica or Michael opened accounts in my name, loans, credit cards, anything. I can request a full credit report in your name. It will cost you like $20. Do it. Monday afternoon, James called me. His voice sounded serious. Mrs. Peterson, you have to come to my office. Now. I arrived in 40 minutes. James had papers scattered on his desk. Sit down, he told me. I sat down. I felt something very bad was coming. I found 5 accounts opened in your name in the last 2 years. 3 credit cards and 2 personal loans. Total debt, $17,000. I felt my head spinning. What? All were opened with your personal information. Social security number, address, date of birth. Someone forged your signature, Jessica. She had access to all my documents. I keep them in my room, but she entered when I was not there. I know. And here is the interesting thing. The billing addresses for the cards are a P, O box. Not your house. Jessica opened them there, and you never saw the statements. What did they spend that money on? James reviewed the papers. Clothes, restaurants, beauty salons, trips. Jessica went on a trip to Miami last year, right? Yes. She had said a friend had paid for the trip. Lie. She had paid for it with my money, with my credit. What do? We report everything as fraud. With the evidence we already have of the false documents, this strengthens the case. Jessica could go to jail for this. And Michael? He also used the cards. James reviewed the transactions. Some purchases seemed to be his. A PlayStation, men's clothes, tools. But the majority are Jessica's. I want to report it all. Both of them. Are you sure? Michael is your son. My son betrayed me. My son signed papers to lock me up. My son stole from me. He is not my son. Not anymore. James nodded. We are going to proceed then. This is going to take time. But eventually, those debts will be cancelled because you can prove you did not make them. And meanwhile, the collectors will look for me. You will give them my number. I will take care of talking to them. You do not worry about that. I returned home feeling a mixture of rage and sadness. $17,000. They had stolen $17,000 from me. Added to the $11,000 I had spent of my savings supporting them, it was $28,000. $28,000 that had taken me 30 years of work to gather. When I arrived, the house was almost empty. They had packed almost everything. The boxes were stacked in the living room. The furniture they had bought with my stolen money was disassembled, ready to be taken. Jessica was in her room, talking on the phone. I heard her say, "Do not worry. We are almost out of this horrible house. We are going to be better off without her." Michael was in the kitchen. He saw me enter and lowered his gaze. "Mom, I need to talk to you. We have nothing to talk about. Please, just 5 minutes," I sighed. 5 minutes. We sat at the kitchen table. The same table where I had cooked for him for years. The same table where I had helped him with his homework when he was a child. The same table where we had shared thousands of meals. "I know I ruined everything," started Michael. "I know I was a bad son. That I failed you. That I hurt you." I did not answer. I just looked at him. When I met Jessica, I thought I had finally found someone who loved me, someone who accepted me, but I did not realize she was just using me, using my weakness. You let her use you, and you let her use me too. I know, and I have no excuse. I should have been stronger. I should have defended you. I should have worked, contributed, been a man. You should have been a son. Michael wiped his tears. Someday, you will be able to forgive me. I thought about it. I looked at my son, that man of 47 years who was still a scared child inside, that man who had let his wife plan to lock up his own mother. I do not know, Michael. Today, I cannot. Maybe someday, but not today. I understand. And there is something else you have to know. I found the credit cards and loans you opened in my name. $17,000 of debt. I am going to report it all. Jessica is going to face criminal charges. And you too, if you used that money. Michael turned pale. I did not know that she. I do not care if you knew or not. You used it. You bought things. You are an accomplice. Mom, please. I have kids. If I go to jail, they are not your kids, Michael. They are Jessica's kids. And you should have thought about that before robbing me. I got up from the table. Michael stayed seated, crying. For the first time in my life, seeing my son cry did not break my heart. I just felt emptiness. Tuesday morning, a moving truck arrived. 2 men started loading the boxes and furniture. I stayed in my room, watching out the window. Margaret came and stayed with me. Are you okay? I will be okay. At 2 in the afternoon, everything was loaded. Michael and Jessica came out with the kids. The kids looked at me from the hallway. The oldest waved goodbye to me. I did not respond. Michael approached my door. Mom. Go, Michael. He left. I heard the door close. I heard the truck start. I heard the silence that remained after. I got up and left my room. The house was empty. The living room had no furniture. Their room was empty. The kids' room was empty. Only my room remained with my things. I walked through the house. It was mine again. only mine. I sat on the floor of the empty living room, and I cried. I cried for the 5 years lost. I cried for the stolen money. I cried for the destroyed relationship with my son. I cried for the mother I was and for the mother I could no longer be. Margaret sat beside me on the floor. She said nothing. She just hugged me. And I cried on her shoulder like a child. When I stopped crying, it was already night. Margaret had stayed with me all that time. "Come to my house," she told me. "I made soup. Let's eat together. I am not hungry. It does not matter. We are going to eat anyway." I went to her house. We ate soup in silence. Afterward, we drank tea, and we talked. I told her the whole story from the beginning. She listened without judging. "You are going to be okay, Eleanor. This is going to hurt for a while, but you are going to be okay. You are stronger than you think." I went back to my house at 10 at night. I went into my room. I lay in my bed, and for the first time in 5 years, I slept peacefully. The first few days after they left were strange. The house was empty and silent. There were no voices. There was no television at full volume. No complaints from Jessica, nor excuses from Michael. Just silence. At first, that silence scared me. It made me feel lonely. But little by little, I started to realize that it was not loneliness. It was peace. On Wednesday, a week after they left, Attorney Carter called me. "Mrs. Peterson, I have news. The fraud investigation moved fast. Jessica has a record. She had done this before with another person. There is an arrest warrant out for her. And Michael. Michael is cooperating with the authorities. He says he did not know the magnitude of the fraud, that Jessica manipulated him. The prosecutors are considering reducing the charges against him if he testifies against her. And the debts, all the cards and loans were reported as fraud. They are going to be canceled. Your credit is going to be clean. It will take a few months, but it will be clean." I sat on my bed processing the information. Jessica was going to face consequences. Michael might save himself, and I was going to recover my financial stability. "There is something else," continued James. "The nursing home mentioned in the documents contacted us. They said Jessica had visited them 3 times, that she had told them you had advanced dementia and the family needed to commit you urgently, that she had even paid a deposit of $400 to reserve a bed, $400 of my stolen money to pay for my own prison. The nursing home returned the deposit and gave us copies of all the documents Jessica presented to them. All false, all invented. This strengthens the case. Thank you, counselor, for everything. It is my job, but it is also the right thing." That afternoon, I decided I needed to do something with the empty house. I could not live like this, with empty rooms reminding me of what had happened. I called Margaret. "Help me go shopping." We went to a used furniture store. I found a small and comfortable sofa, beige color, a simple coffee table, white curtains for the living room. I paid with my debit card, my money I had earned, money no one had stolen from me. I also bought things for myself, new clothes, comfortable shoes, face creams I had always wanted but never bought myself, a book that caught my eye in the bookstore. When we returned home with the purchases, Margaret helped me fix up the living room. We placed the sofa, we hung the curtains, we arranged the table. "It looks beautiful," said Margaret. And it was true. It looked beautiful. Simple, clean, mine. The days passed. I got used to the new routine. Work, come home, cook just for me. I watched television on my new sofa. I read my book. I drank tea with Margaret on weekends. 2 weeks later, Michael sent me a text message. "Mom, can we talk? Please." I thought about it for a whole day. Finally, I responded, "I am not ready yet." He did not respond. He respected my decision. A month after they left, a certified envelope arrived. I opened it with trembling hands. It was from the prosecutor's office. Jessica had been arrested. The charges were fraud, forgery of documents, and attempted kidnapping. Michael had accepted a plea deal, 2 years of probation, and pay restitution of $5,000. $5,000 was not the $17,000 they had stolen from me, but it was something. That night, Margaret came to my house. I showed her the documents. "How do you feel?" she asked me. "I do not know. I thought I would feel happy that they paid for what they did. But I just feel empty. It is normal. He is your son. Even though he has done horrible things, he is still your son. I do not know if he is my son anymore. I do not know if I want him to be. You do not have to decide that now. Give yourself time. 2 months after they left, I started feeling better. My back hurt less. My hands shook less. I slept better. I had more energy. A coworker noticed the change. "Eleanor, you look different. Younger." "I feel different," I replied. And it was true. I felt free. For the first time in 5 years. My money was mine. My time was mine. My house was mine. My life was mine. Attorney Carter called one day with good news. "Mrs. Peterson, all debts were officially canceled. Your credit report is clean." And Michael made the first restitution payment, $500. Those $500 arrived in my account a week later. I looked at them in my bank statement. I did not need them. My job was enough now that I only spent on myself. But I accepted them, because they were mine, because they owed them to me. 3 months later, on a sunny Saturday, I decided to do something I had not done in years. I went to the park, alone. I brought my book. I bought an ice cream. I sat on a bench under a tree. And while I read and ate my ice cream, I realized something. I was happy, really happy. Not that fake happiness of pretending everything is fine, but real happiness, real peace. A lady sat on the bench next to me. She was about my age, maybe a little older. "Beautiful day, right?" she told me. "Yes," I replied. "Very beautiful. You live nearby, a few blocks away." "Me too. I come here every Saturday." "I had never seen you." "It is my first time in a long time." "Well, I hope to see you more often then." "My name is Dorothy." "Eleanor." We talked for a while. About simple things. About the weather. About the flowers in the park. About a free concert there would be next week. When I said goodbye to Dorothy and returned home, I felt renewed. I had made a new friend. A friend who knew nothing of my past. Who did not see me as the woman who had been used by her family. She just saw me as Eleanor. 4 months later, I received another message from Michael. "Mom, I know you said you were not ready to talk, and I respect that. I just want you to know that I am going to therapy. I am working at a store. I am trying to be better. I do not expect your forgiveness. I just want you to know that I am sorry. I truly am sorry." I read the message several times. I did not respond. I was not ready yet. Maybe someday I would be. Maybe not, and that was okay too. 5 months later, Margaret helped me fix up the room that had been Michael and Jessica's. We painted it a soft yellow. I bought a new sewing machine. I installed my sewing room again. The room that had been the kids', I converted into a guest room. In case Dorothy wanted to stay over someday. Or Susan from work, or any person I decided to invite to my house. My house. 6 months later, on my 72nd birthday, Margaret organized a small party. She invited Dorothy, Susan, 2 more neighbors. We ate cake. We drank coffee. We laughed. Do you know what is the best thing about turning 72? I told Margaret that night when everyone left. What? That I made it here. That I survived. That I am here, in my house, surrounded by people who truly appreciate me. 1 year after Michael and Jessica left, I received the final notification of the legal case. Jessica had been sentenced to 3 years in prison. Michael had completed his probation without problems. The $5,000 of restitution were paid in full. The case was closed. That night I sat on my sofa, in my living room, in my house. I looked around. The white curtains, the pictures I had bought, the plants Margaret had given me, my sewing machine visible through the open door of the sewing room. This was my life now. Simple, quiet, mine. I had lost 5 years. I had lost almost $30,000. I had lost the relationship with my son. But I had gained something more valuable. I had gained myself back. I was no longer the woman who let herself be used. I was no longer the mother who sacrificed everything for fear of being alone. I was no longer the employee of my own family. I was Eleanor Peterson, 72 years old, hardworking, strong, free. And for the first time in a long time, when I looked in the mirror, I liked the woman I saw reflected. The phone rang. It was Margaret. Do you want to go to the park concert tomorrow? Dorothy is going too. Yes, I replied without hesitation. I would love to. I hung up and smiled. Tomorrow would be a good day. And the day after too. And the next. Because now all my days were good. Because now my life was mine. And nobody, never again, was going to take it away from me. I looked out the window. The sun was setting. The sky was painted orange and pink. It was beautiful, and I was at peace. Finally, after so much time, I was at peace.